AMIIBO Nuzlocke. Let me explain the rules. I will face every raid boss amiibo that I have, starting with the worst one and working my way all the way up to what I deem is my best raid boss amiibo. I can use every single character on the roster, but once they lose a single time, they are no longer usable for me for the remainder of this challenge, and if I have no characters left, well then I lose this challenge. I am able to use every item, but only a single time use per item, no matter if I win or lose the match that the item is associated with. With that being said, let's begin. Alright, quick update on where things stand so far for this series. So here's the roster. So far, I've only lost 3 characters, that being Samus, Min Min, and unfortunately for me, Sephiroth. And then switching over to the items that I have used currently, it's only 2 items. One was a big one, which is the regular hammer, and then I've also used the beast ball, so all of those are no longer usable for the rest of the series. Lady Palutena, first challenger of today's video, and she poses a massive threat for me during this challenge, and to kind of prove her point here, she actually ended up footstooling me quite early on. But, however, I did carefully think about how I was going to attempt to defeat her, so my plan was to use another item, that being the Rage Blaster. Now, this should work pretty well because the higher damage that the user has, the more damage that this item ultimately does. So this goddess, this Palutena raid boss amiibo, has 0 attack investment. Now, eventually I did get things evened up with a nice down air spike to get that adrenaline pumping. And then a bit later, I did find myself at over 186% damage, and Palutena was controlling that Rage Blaster item. But with one perfectly timed down special, I reflected it right back at her, taking the stock lead. And of course I even had to throw in a little bit of a teabag because I felt pretty good about that one, which then I instantly regretted. Then with a bit of strength, I ended up blasting her with a forward smash and followed her off stage to hit her with a down air, which ultimately pushed her too low to recover back on stage, giving me the win.
Congratulations.
Oh look, a Pichu hatched from the egg. How cute. Too bad I had to kind of belly flop onto it. I had to teach this baby Pokemon a lesson on battling, alright? It has to learn at some point, okay? But to my surprise, this baby Pokemon actually started showing some real skills as it hit me with a down air, almost hit me into a thunder combo, but I guess I needed to learn that down air was still super effective against whoever I play as. But then, luckily for myself, Pichu started racking up some damage on me, but I caught Pichu dropping down the platform and hit a Mega Punch, sealing my second victory. Alright, so my next raid boss opponent here, Alf, happened to be, well, another tiny character in the form of Alf, like I mentioned, and his Pikmin. Now, if I'm not careful here, Alf will get those Pikmin to latch onto me, and they are going to rack up massive damage extremely fast. But I just decided to kind of brute strength my way through this one, and I hit a down smash for stock 1. And then sometime later I ended up nailing another down air, which ended up spiking Alf down into the abyss for stock number 2. Now a bit later, things are tied up with 1 stock left for both of us, and Alf ended up kind of catching me in like this little down throw forward air little combo a couple times, and it put me over 100% damage very quickly, but I locked in, and just like stock 1, I had to flatten him with another down smash for another savored victory. Alright, Joker is up next, but I'm switching up my strategy here. So the strategy is I want to keep King K. Rool my main character. I want to keep him safe for this challenge. So I decided it's time to give other characters an opportunity. Plus I decided, hey, I might as well try out another item. Why not try to help out some lesser characters? And that item would be the blue shell. Now, early on, I foolishly went for a Falcon Punch. I don't know why I was trying to style on him, but of course I missed.
You suck.
And Joker took advantage of that. Joker then wanted to try the blue shell for himself, and it worked wonders for him because even though he really didn't need it here, I still kind of paid for it, and I lost stock number 2. Now, in my, sadly, one bright spot of this match, I did hit a satisfying down air spike, so I was kind of feeling a little better. However, my skills with the captain were on the, let's say, poor side of the ratings. And, well, I lost to Joker, meaning no more Captain Falcon for this challenge, and I kind of wasted the blue shell. Alright, time to switch strategies, I guess. Just lost a character, so I had to immediately retreat to using my main character, K. Rool. But again, like mentioned before, blue shell is no longer usable because each item is only usable once. So I decided to go with what had worked for me in the past matches. And, I started by chasing Joker off stage, which, a down air took care of his first stock. And then finally, at the end of this game, I guess we'll call it luck, and I will take all the luck I can get, because Joker kind of played himself a little bit here, and he just kind of floated a little too far away from the ledge, and, he couldn't recover properly. Another win for me. Alright, back to the strategy where I'm using other characters, and this character I'm switching to is Donkey Kong. And boy did I come out swinging and swatting anything that was in my path, but an up special connected at the edge, knocking Swordman out for stock number 1. Good start so far. A bit later though, I did try chasing him off stage and going for a down air spike, but unfortunately for me, things got even worse because pretty much as I spawned, I tried to attempt another down air spike, only to miss, and Swordman footstooled me, and just like that, in the span of about 8 seconds, I just lost 2 stocks. Now luckily here I was able to strike back as I charged up a neutral special, and I timed it pretty well. And then finally we started battling a little bit back and forth, but as I was hanging onto the ledge, a back air opportunity presented itself, and I had to take it, and while it didn't immediately get the KO, it was still enough to get the job done. There's a win for Donkey Kong. Alright, so it looks like my next opponent is everyone's all-time favorite Smash DLC character. Now, I'm starting to build a tiny bit of momentum with Donkey Kong. I just got a win, and I was able to hit this big down air for stock 1, making me kind of want to dance a little bit. And you know what they say, if it worked once, well, let's try again, shall we? And I ended up duplicating the results, just like stock 1. Now grabbing 2 stocks, I kind of felt like I had a chance to get my first 3 stock of this entire series, but Corrin didn't really feel the same way. In fact, Corrin felt seemed pretty angry and wasn't just going to give up. And she ultimately got my second stock even, kind of bringing my Donkey Kong dance party to a screeching halt. But luckily, my happy fists were in the mood to play the bongos, and since I didn't really have any bongos handy, I just had to use Corrin instead, and I made sweet music. Alright, me, Sword Fighter, is now standing in my way, and I couldn't let this fraud stop me from success, so I decided to play the classic hits. Like a down air spike. Then all of a sudden things really started heating up in this battle as I was trying to protect the ledge, but me, Sword Fighter, kind of kept making it back, so I tried to chase him off stage again, only to get caught by his up special. It didn't quite KO me at that moment, but I knew there's no way I was going to recover, so I tried my own up special to carry me, Sword Fighter, away, but me, Sword Fighter, is able to still recover properly. Luckily, I respawned immediately and then clap back, evening things up again. However, at the end of this day, me, Sword Fighter, was just better than me, and Donkey Kong's run in this challenge is over. Alright, time to change back to the old strategy that's working, I guess. After suffering another loss, I only had one choice, and that was to switch back to King K. Rool, my main big guy. And surely enough, I fought my way to the very end and came out with another victory. Oh boy, for this next match, Rob, he was so far at this point in the challenge my absolute biggest threat. So I had to think about how I was going to defeat him, and I ended up selecting an item to use in this match, which would be Boss Galaga. Now, I did also have to swap to a new character. I didn't have to, but I decided to, and I chose Pyra and Mithra. Now, Pyra at least hits very hard, so I was hoping to deal some big damage. Now, I was able to get the first Galaga item, but kind of proved to be pretty much useless, because in order for it to be effective enough, the opponent has to be at like somewhat high damage, so they can't just break out immediately. But since I couldn't really deal any damage, well, ultimately I failed here, wasting yet another item and losing another character. So this was embarrassing because I even got 3 stocked. Now, after that last loss, I had to deliberate with myself, because, well, who else am I going to talk to? But I had to deliberate for a few minutes. I had to come up with a new plan, and I figured cheese is my option. Crom cheese, if you catch my drift. So I found myself already down a stock pretty early on in the match, before I was eventually able to catch Rob with an up special off stage, taking his first stock, but I also lost my second stock in the process. So if I was gonna make this cheese work, well, I needed to be extra careful for his next 2 stocks. But luck seemed to have kind of switched to my side here a little bit, as I got tossed off stage, went to recover, and Rob just happened to be in the right place at the right time, and bam! Down goes his second stock. Now, just when I started believing I actually had a chance to win this, I ended up making a stupid mistake, and I got back up on stage and instead of trying to bait out some crom cheese with the up special at the ledge, and then I got caught in Rob's grab. He buried me, hit the up smash, and I lost. Now that's 2 straight losses, so I think I'm gonna end the video here. I need to regroup. I need to come up with a better strategy. Rob is a huge challenge, a huge problem for me to try to solve, and we'll pick up with Rob on the next episode.